Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 100th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Cameron, for the 100th time, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was late getting here today, so I'll tell that story. When I left home, my wife was checking the mail, and she didn't have keys or phone or anything with her. I closed the garage door, as I do when I back out of the driveway, and so she was locked out of the house. So she had to go to the neighbor's house. They were not home. She went to the other neighbor's house. They didn't answer. Just when she was about to give up and walk away, they finally opened the door. She had to borrow their phone and call me to tell me to come back and please let her in the house.
You're probably, halfway here already?
I was 30 seconds from pulling in the driveway to this this Revel Advertising.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
Devastating. As an introvert, that would be my worst nightmare, that she had to go to her I don't know how well you know your neighbors, but
well enough, I guess.
I would be like, oh my God, I gotta go knock on my neighbor's door and ask to use their phone. Was this 1985?
Yeah. Borrow some sugar while you're at it.
Well, sounds like she got the job done. Sounds like you got the job done.
Yep. Went back, let her in the house.
She's home safe.
Yeah, everything's fine.
That's good to hear.
We're just a little late getting started here, but that's not unusual. Usually when we're here
Usually
on time.
I'm late.
Well, I wasn't going to say it. It's our 100th episode, guys. We made it. We can stop now. We made it to 100 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there to do? So we'll see you guys.
Might not be able to talk about sports ever again anyway, so.
That's true. There hasn't been a whole lot of news lately, so might as well hang it up now. Might as well hang up the headphones. Just kidding. We'll be here for 1,000 more episodes. And but it is our 100th episode, so we're going to celebrate a little bit. We're going to look back at some early episodes and cringe really badly at them. And in 100 episodes, we'll cringe at me saying that. And we'll tell you guys about how this podcast came into existence. We have some 100th episode gifts. We'll go through that. Some best moments of the podcast so far. And yes, Producer Cameron?
You made gifts?
Yeah. Podcast gifts.
Gifts.
Presents, if you will. But before we do any of that, let's talk about some news, because there is some news this week.
All right, let's talk about it.
SEC playing 10-game conference-only schedule in football. How about it?
I mean, I feel like we've known this was coming for a few weeks now. Ever since the Big Ten did this 3 weeks ago. It seemed very early at the time. But we've always kind of known that the conference-only schedule was probably coming. Mizzou already plays 8 conference games, so they're going to have to add 2 more from the West. We don't know who that's going to be yet, but we already played Mississippi State and Arkansas, so it's going to be one of the other West schools that we don't already play, so that's probably going to be ugly, but...
Who, if you could pick the 2 schools, who would you want it to be?
I mean,
Ole Miss?
Probably Ole Miss and A&M. I mean, because the others are what? Auburn, LSU, and Alabama?
Yeah. That's not ideal.
Not really.
Yeah, and we just played Ole Miss last year, so that doesn't seem likely. There was a theory out there that it would just be whoever was next on the rotating schedule.
Yeah, which would have been Auburn and...
A&M.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that that Greg Sankey's come out and said that they're looking at different models and they don't really want to mess up the schedules in the future, because, I mean, that's true. If they did that for this year, what would happen to the schedule for the future? So
I guess you just have to move everything up.
I guess, but
I don't know.
So they may still end up doing that. We may still just play A&M and Auburn, or they might find some kind of strength of schedule balance, which means that we'd probably be playing Alabama or LSU or maybe both, because we are already playing 2 of the worst West teams. So
yeah,
but we should probably know about that pretty soon, who we're going to be playing.
We know who we are no longer going to be playing, and that is Central Arkansas, Eastern Michigan, BYU, and Louisiana Lafayette.
Which is not the worst thing ever. I mean, it's kind of fun to play other Power 5 schools out of your conference, like BYU. Are they even Power 5? Could you consider them Power 5?
I think they're independent.
Yeah, well, they're still kind of on the same level, I guess, of Mizzou maybe.
But But also BYU's not that exciting to me because in the grand scheme of things, we played them relatively recently.
True.
So,
Yeah, like I told you this before we started recording. I would rather lose a football game to LSU than to like BYU or Louisiana, which honestly would have been a pretty tough game, I think, honestly. So
yeah, you're probably in those 4 games. You're probably looking at 2 pretty much guaranteed wins in Central Arkansas and Eastern Michigan. Would be huge upsets if they lost one of those, and then 2 pretty much coin flips with BYU and Louisiana Lafayette.
Yep.
The Raging Cajuns. The season will now start on September 26th.
Yep.
So,
and I think Stirk confirmed that they're still going to start fall camp on August 7th, which is just a week away, which is kind of crazy to think that football is really close, at least fall camp is. But yeah, September 26th will be when they start. I think NFL is still supposed to start at their normal time, which is like that first or second week of September.
No preseason, though.
Correct.
So Missouri was supposed to play Central Arkansas on September 5th, and then they were supposed to play Vanderbilt on the 12th. So I assume they'll play Vanderbilt first now on the 26th. So not that much of a delay. It's going to feel like a lot longer when we have to fill a couple extra weeks of podcast content, but that's...
Oh, man, we take it 1 week at a time, man. I don't want to think about that yet. I had something I wanted to say, but now I don't remember what it is. Oh, yes. It's good that we're still talking about playing games. I think Stirk even said that they are still shooting for 20% capacity in the stadium, which I still don't think that there will be fans in the stadium, but it's good that we're, a month away or so, and we're 2 months away, but we're still talking about playing football games, so I would say that's a win at this point.
Yeah, their sports were halted way back when, pretty much all of a sudden, when the NCAA tournament was canceled and NBA stopped and all that stuff. And everything's being brought back gradually, and then things are then being taken away gradually. So it seems like it's baby steps to, there will be 4 other announcements of things that we don't necessarily want to hear before they ever say that they're not playing games.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're still talking about maybe having fans, the fact that they're still trying to play 10 football games, that's so far so good, I guess. Did we talk about last week? Did we talk about the East St. Louis player committing to the East St. Louis wide receiver committing to
UCLA? Yeah, I think we talked about that a week or two ago.
His teammate and Tyler Macon's teammate Dominic Lovett is announcing his commitment on September 11th. So have to feel like Mizzou has a decent chance there. Although felt good about the other wide receiver until
Keontae Lewis. Definitely something.
I remember now talking about his crystal ball picks.
It definitely seems
quickly switching to UCLA.
Like something happened there, and I don't know if it was just with Lewis that felt the way he did about whatever clearly happened behind the scenes, or if that's a East St. Louis thing. I don't know, but right now, I mean, we feel fine about Lovett, but we'll see what actually happens when we get closer to the date. We'll see what happens with crystal ball picks and all that stuff, but still feel pretty good about him, I'd say.
Kyle, I don't know if you know, but Xavier Pinson, there's an X. Mitchell Smith and Jeremiah Tillman are officially back, folks.
Wow, we're breaking that news, huh? First time I've heard that.
That was made official since last time we spoke. So
yeah,
if you were curious, we really weren't sure right up until the announcement was made. That's a joke. We knew all along they were probably coming back. Pinson maybe threw us for a loop.
Gave us like
a couple times,
34 different heart attacks, but it seems like it's finally official now.
Yep. Any thoughts on what they bring to the table? I mean, obviously it's a good thing that they're coming back, but
yeah,
we've talked about this in football before. When you're bringing back core pieces of an underperforming squad that has kind of underperformed the last 2 seasons and had injury trouble and all that kind of stuff, it's just not a whole lot there to get you excited.
I think because Missouri has so much coming back and some pieces that have definitely flashed their potential in the past, I think that people will respect Missouri this offseason. I think people will give them a shot. Honestly, I think Missouri fans will be the last people to give them a shot. But I have already heard, some things about SEC basketball coaches around the league kind of already saying that Missouri might be the dark horse. So I've thought about, how I feel about this team. I've kind of danced around. There's a pretty good chance that by the time the season starts, I feel decent about our chances to make the NCAA tournament. I don't know. It seems crazy considering how bad the season was at times last year, but it's just, I don't know. There's a pretty wide range of outcomes when you've got a lot of players coming back.
Yeah, and like you said, we saw at times last year that they were capable of being a team that could compete for an NCAA tournament berth. They just were so wildly inconsistent between beating legitimately good teams and losing to legitimately terrible teams. Just made no sense at times.
It's all going to ride on how good Jordan Wilmore is. That was sarcasm.
Well, we are hoping that that's not the case. Hopefully Tillman, plays 32 minutes a game and Wilmore can ease into any kind of role in the post. But I think that's all we got for news. What do you think?
NBA starts tonight.
That's
true.
that?
I saw that Rudy Gobert scored the first basket tonight because the game started 30 minutes ago or so.
Yeah.
And so everyone was saying it was coming full circle.
A little bit ironic, yeah. Michael Porter Jr. has been in the news lately for some interesting comments.
Yeah.
We don't really need to get into that, but you can look that up on your own. Maybe just don't pay that much attention to what a 20-year-old is saying about important things.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. Did you see the NFL? Everybody's in a tizzy, especially Chiefs fans. Probably a lot of people listening to this podcast about the NFL top 100 players.
Yeah.
Who puts that out? The league puts that out?
I think so, or maybe it's the NFL Network or something.
Yeah.
Some kind of outlet publishes that. And
it's kind of weird to me that the NFL as an organization would be so behind a ranking of the players like that. Just kind of weird to me.
Yeah, to me, it's just 100% to get everybody's feathers ruffled, and that clearly it's driven a lot of discussion and engagement, which is, I'm sure, exactly what they wanted.
Need some of that off-season talk.
Exactly. So Mahomes clearly to me is not the fourth best player in the league.
What do you think, more like 6 or 7?
Yeah, definitely, probably 8 or 9. I definitely obviously Lamar Jackson was the MVP. I understand why they put him 1, and I think that this was strictly based on last year's performances, I guess. So
yeah, I guess that's...
yeah, and Christian McCaffrey, your boy at number 6, I thought was a little disrespectful as well. So I don't know. There's just a couple of things. Honestly, I don't really care that much. But some people really get into that stuff, and people were kind of frustrated, rightfully so.
People that know what they're doing don't make lists where, when they're published, people go, seems reasonable. Unless they're like us and really are trying to drive home a brand of reasonableness. Then
we definitely do that.
Yeah. Most media outlets maybe don't care too much about being reasonable and just want engagement and discussion, which we love that too if anybody wants to throw any of that our way.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe we should start throwing out some more hot takes, huh?
Maybe
start losing rationality.
We've literally talked about that before, how we need to potentially
argue more.
Yeah, give hotter takes to get people riled up.
You guys agreed way too much.
We just can't do it. We can't bring ourselves to do it.
We're too rational. Yeah.
Too agreeable.
Too right all the time.
Yeah, that's the issue for sure. All right, you guys ready to celebrate? Ready to make it a party?
I'm so ready.
So, do you want to start? Just get the cringe over with?
Let's just get the cringe over with.
All right, what we're about to do is listen to the first ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast. You're going to hear...
Oh, I thought you were about to say open the gifts.
Oh,
because that's going to be cringe too. But we'll go there.
It might be nonstop cringe the rest of the episode.
You're probably right.
So we're going to listen to the first episode, the introduction. We'll see how much of it we can bear to listen to. Producer Cameron, are you going to try to put a sound effect in here so that people know we're going back in time?
I guess I can.
We'll see. Maybe we'll just leave a little...
Wow, putting him on the spot.
Yeah. Maybe not. But you're going to listen. It'll be obvious that this is from a long time ago. And especially because of the breathing. Apologies in advance. This is going to be awful.
I think we were really nervous, and
we were definitely not.
We couldn't breathe, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. All right, hit it, I guess.
All right, here we go. Going back in time.
First ever episode.
Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the first ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio here in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great today, and I was doing even better yesterday when I was watching the Mizzou takeover on the SEC Network, because they were showing the Mizzou versus Kansas game from 2012, and that was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life. So it was bringing back some good memories for me last night.
I was watching that as well, believe it or not. I was working on the show notes and watching Mizzou Kansas, so obviously I wasn't getting a lot done on the show notes, but I got to watch Marcus Denman take over in the second half. It should have been called the Marcus Denman takeover, not the Mizzou takeover of SEC Network.
You were definitely right about that.
That was just such a fun game, and watching it back now, this many years later, it was fun. Obviously, the Mizzou stuff is fun, but little things.
Okay.
Man, okay.
Man, we must have been at really high altitude because you guys were gasping for air.
I had no idea.
We shouldn't have run so many laps before
yeah.
Starting the podcast.
Yeah. So that would have been what, about 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Published August 19th. We recorded it before that because our first 3 episodes are on the 19th, but
yeah,
so probably very early.
We'd have to like go back to SoundCloud, I think, to see the actual first published date, because we messed around with podcast providers for a little bit there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'd like to think that we've come a long way in our delivery and probably in other ways as well, but that's definitely pretty rough.
The breathing thing, I just don't know what to make of it. Like, and I remember listening back to it right after, like, when it was published, and just being like, man, that's not good. Yeah. We got to figure out something there.
The final file, like, on my computer was made July 29th.
Oh wow, it's exactly
2018.
Almost.
Yeah. 2 years in one day.
Yep.
So we had to do every other week in the summer a year ago or whenever we did that to make it even up. So we got a 2-year anniversary right on our 100th episode.
Man.
Wow, it's really meant to be.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Gosh. I guess
we were both doing it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the weird part.
It's like when you get up to give a speech and you're just immediately out of breath, and you just have to calm down a little bit.
It's kind of like all like legitimate side effects of like fear. Like you get whenever I do public speaking, I get like tunnel vision. I can't see anything except for like what's right in front of me. I forget everything I want to say. I run out of breath. It's weird.
Yeah.
I think that was happening to us a little bit.
Luckily for me, at some point during college, I got over it to some extent as far as public speaking. I'm a lot better at it now than I ever was before a few college classes where I had to present a lot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was just so new. And you can hear in the later episodes, not just the first one, that us taking big breaths in between. And we just took us a while to get used to the rhythm of everything. And I definitely think I had to train myself to just breathe quietly when I take a little breath in between saying things.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny too. I mean, just content-wise, like a few minutes after where we stopped on that episode, we were getting ready to talk about fall camp, and you asked me, about a couple of things that stood out on the depth chart, and I think I proceeded to go on and basically talk about almost every single player on the entire depth chart. It was just,
well, we had to have content for that first hour that we talked.
I suppose, but it was just kind of funny. Like, hey, what stands out to you? Oh, literally everything. I basically went on for the next like 30 minutes. So, like, we were still in the news section and everything, So yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah,
we ended that episode with by going over the basketball recruiting class for 2019. We gave our predictions and everything. We revisited that a year later, looked back at our predictions, made new predictions. I don't think we're going to do that this episode, but maybe next week we'll look at those predictions. And if you want to go back, I had the episode pulled up here. I'll try to find it. But anyway, we'll maybe listen to our predictions right before we record next week. So our 2019 predictions were pretty solid. 2020, not so much.
Episode 48, basketball recruiting predictions.
That's it. That's the one you want to listen to if you want to know what's going to happen and see how wrong we were. Kyle, I thought it would be maybe interesting to, I can already tell you it's not that interesting, but people might want to know how this podcast came to be. And really, everybody can thank producer Cameron because, first of all, we're at his place of work here, Revel Advertising in Springfield, Missouri. And he said to me, we've got this recording area that we don't use that much. You and Kyle should just record an episode of a Mizzou podcast, just see how it goes, and see what you think.
Yeah, I think we were just kind of talking when we were working out.
Yeah.
We were just like talking about like potentially like just doing some kind of thing because you and Kyle do stuff all the time. And I was like, well,
Yeah, we would always talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Just when we were hanging out.
When we would get together, we would talk about Mizzou for literally an hour.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we could maybe record that and see if it interests anybody.
In my normal introvert self, I was kind of like, I don't know that I really want to do that. And I actually remember it was my wife, Hannah, that kind of pushed me and said, like, hey, you should do that. Like, that would be really fun. You would enjoy that, and you'd be good at it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of those things like, might as well, we have this opportunity with this free
there's like
use
not going to be
recording
like
space.
any other better
Yeah.
like opportunity
Yeah.
to do this.
And
so
the
might
other
as well
thing
give it a
that
shot
kind
now.
of helped it too was I already had the Twitter account with 5,000 plus followers, and well, that'd be a pretty good platform to advertise it on, and here we are.
Yeah, so nothing too exciting there, but that's the origins of the Missouri Sports Podcast.
It's weird listening when we were listening to the end of some of these episodes, trying to find some stuff that you can find us on Twitter at Mizzou Sports 1.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I had to change the branding a little bit.
Yeah,
after
when
got
you
going.
changed the Twitter handle to Mizzou Sports Pod, I was like, here
it's
we
like,
go.
Big
this
time
is,
now.
This is
Yeah.
legit now.
Made me think like, we're in this for the long haul now. He changed the handle.
Oh yeah.
You guys want to see what's in these bags here?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this was happening
I did not either.
until today. Kyle's wife, Hannah, my wife, Emily, presented us with 3 bags that are apparently happy 100th episode gifts. So
we basically apparently have one from our wives, and then we have one that's kind of for all three of us.
Go ahead and open those first.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
open those at the same time.
So you're going to have to check us out on YouTube if you want to actually see what's going on. We'll try to describe what we're opening as we do it. But if you
Yeah.
want to see it for yourself, check us out on YouTube.
Yeah. My wife wrote on my bag, Kyle, for you to put your NOS in while you're recording. I love the energy drink NOS, so she knows me very well. So it's probably a cup.
But you don't drink it when you record.
I don't. I really don't. But
My
maybe
wife
maybe I'll
wrote
have to.
nothing on my bag.
Wow.
Yeah. Step it up, Emily.
All this paper crinkling.
Yeah, that's going to make for great sound.
Ooh.
Oh, mine's a cup too.
Very nice. Thank you to our wives, Hannah and Emily. These cups.
Kyle's is a glass cup.
Yeah, it's almost looks like a little jar or something.
Oh.
It's very nice.
We could put flowers in it.
Absolutely.
Mine is a rounded black coffee travel tumbler
That's beautiful.
with Mizzou logos on it.
Very beautiful.
So we'll set it here, right in front of Spider-Man.
And red.
Right in front of Red.
All right. We've got one more here.
Producer Cameron, we
Cameron,
do the honors.
do the
on
honors.
that.
Oh, I suppose.
Oh, there's a card, actually.
Oh,
Oh
gosh.
my.
You guys. Oh, my gosh. Here. You can open that.
Kyle's going to open the card. What's it say on it?
Our names.
Kyle Cameron, producer Cam.
Oh. It's a Mizzou card. Homemade, it looks like.
Cam, producer Cam, and Kyle, congrats on your 100th episode. We are proud of you, Hannah and Emily.
Wow.
Wow.
That's so nice.
And
of
she
them.
wrote Hannah and Kyle and marked my name out. So I don't know if that was on purpose or not.
She's used to
she's,
signing cards for both of you.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I felt bad earlier when I was leaving. I said, and you're coming. I said to Emily, you're coming too because we're having the wives on for the 100th episode. Just a complete joke because I thought she'd be like, no, I don't want to do that. And she was like, oh, cool, yeah. And I was like, oh, no, I'm joking.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Come on, decoration.
Come on.
Oh.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, wow. It has our logo on it.
It's
wow.
it's a flag or tapestry of some sort with our Missouri Sports Podcast logo.
That's
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah. Producer Cameron, you didn't have anything to do with this?
I sent a logo file, and I
Wow.
was told that she needed it.
Wow.
Just didn't
wow.
know what
Can you
for.
just hold that right there the rest of the episode?
Yep, just right in front of my face.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a special gift.
That's awesome.
Thank you to our wives for celebrating with us on our 100th episode.
And we're auctioning it off to the highest bidder.
Starting at $100.
We'd probably have to pay someone else to take it from us. So while producer Cameron rigs that up, so it's beautiful in the background. Let's talk about some of our favorite moments of the podcast so far. And for me, most of them revolve around actually going to Columbia and experiencing games, the three of us, sometimes with additional friends along the way. How many games have we seen in person since we started?
Probably 5 or 6.
Yeah. We hadn't started the podcast, of course, when we went and saw Mizzou play basketball against Iowa State in Michael Porter Jr. rebound 2-point back injury game.
I wish we had the podcast going then. It would have been great for content.
Yes, absolutely. And
The
even
basketball team is actually good.
Yeah.
We started the next season.
Yeah. And it's probably all that excitement that spurred us on. If it was year 2 of, if we were going into year 3 of the Kim Anderson era, I don't think we would have been that motivated.
Probably not.
And if we had known how it was going to go the next 2 years, basketball and football wise, we maybe never would have started.
Might have waited. Or maybe never started.
But one I wanted to specifically mention is if you can remember who they were playing, help me out. But we were in the stands wearing our Missouri Sports Podcast T-shirts.
West Virginia.
Correct.
Okay. And we had a listener see us on the ESPN2 telecast.
Yeah. Well, we put out a tweet as we were walking in. I took a picture of you two fine-looking gentlemen with your shirts on.
Oh, yeah.
And we did some kind of giveaway, basically. If
We were going to give away stickers.
If people recognized us at the stadium or saw our shirts, then we were giving away some stickers. And we actually had like you said, a listener spot us on the TV broadcast and then tweeted at us about it. And that was our good friend Tristan, who's a loyal listener. And we love Tristan and appreciate him. But that was the beginning of our relationship with Tristan. We were like shocked when it had happened. We were like, what?
The coolest moment.
Yeah, that was so cool.
And then remember when Tristan tried to help you beat me in SEC Pick'em game?
Yeah, I needed all the help I could get.
And I still crushed you guys.
You still did, yeah.
Any other moments that you can remember? We've got one entertaining end to an episode that we're going to play here in a sec. But anything we should talk about before we get to that?
It is kind of a bummer, that you mentioned that Missouri hasn't been that good at anything, honestly, since we started this podcast. But it's still been really fun coming here every week and getting together with you guys. And we've made some good connections with Mizzou fans online, and that's obviously been really special. And we hope to continue to do that.
We get to go to the Tournament of Champions.
I was going to say that was going to be one of my fun things.
Get to be in the media at the Tournament of Champions.
Still haven't got an interview, but
this
maybe
year.
If
it's played and they allow media and fans, then
Yeah.
that's going to be our big breakthrough.
Yeah.
Producer Cameron, you want to cue up that episode, the ending of episode 14?
Yeah, I think it's ready to go.
So
in the right spot. So.
Maybe we'll set you up for what to expect here. So this was the episode where we recapped the loss to Kentucky that just a couple weeks ago, when we were reviewing the entire Barry Odom era, we talked about was one of the worst points, probably the worst point in. We decided top 2 probably.
The saddest I ever was.
Yeah,
definitely was at that moment.
Yeah, maybe even beyond the Barry Odom era, and so this was directly in the aftermath of that. We had just recapped the episode,
the Kentucky 2018 game. So this was just
recap
still
the game,
pretty early on in the podcast as well.
Yeah, this was only episode 14, and Kyle just kind of let it, got a few things off his chest, and then it devolved into hysterics of laughter. I don't even know how it gets there,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess we're about to find out.
Yes, but I guess one more thing. It was I was getting a lot off my chest about the Kentucky game, the Kentucky loss. But it was kind of interesting. You'll hear me talk about it, I guess a little bit. But obviously, Missouri goes on to probably get its biggest win of the Barry Odom era against Florida, the next game after Kentucky. So it's kind of cool knowing what happened in real life whenever you hear this little segment.
Okay, let's go back in time.
Do that. I cannot do that. Sorry, producer Cam.
That's okay.
All right. Well, anything else for the folks?
I guess I don't know. It's so interesting that after how dejected I was after that Kentucky game, like I felt like as close to death. Like I'm being like I don't want to be like dramatic here, but I'll be dramatic. The last Saturday was awful. Like it literally like ruined my night, and like maybe like the next day, like I was just like in a terrible mood because that was just such a wasted opportunity, and just so sad to watch. But here I am, just like a mere few days later, and I'm already like pumped for the next game. You know, like it's fandom is just a ridiculous and horrible thing.
Makes me wonder why we do it sometimes.
I really wonder why I do it, because I'm all excited about this game, and any opportunity to watch Mizzou play football is just I always am all about it, but I get my heart broken all the time, but still fun somehow. So
Yes.
Here we are.
I agree. I echo those sentiments exactly. So that's all for this week. We are actually going to stick around and record a basketball special preview episode. So that'll be coming out on Monday, right before the first basketball game of the season. So if you're looking for some basketball news, we're going to break down the roster, take a look at the schedule, see what we think. But we will see you next week as well to talk about this Florida game, and then look forward to what are hopefully 3 wins to close out the season. We let them know where they can find us.
Oh, sure can. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and Spotify. You can tweet at us at Missouri Sports. Okay, messed that up. It's like the easiest thing I have to say. I just have to literally read this right off the page. I still mess it up like every week.
Why don't you tell them where they can find us?
You can find us. You like set me up again.
Yeah.
Just send them out.
All right, you can find this podcast on iTunes. Send them out. Say who are you
And
sending?
you can find me on Twitter at C_Albert08. Thanks everyone for listening. Kyle messed it up too many times. We will see you next week.
iTunes, Google Play Music, and Spotify. You can tweet us at Mizzou Sports 1 and email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
And you can find me on Twitter.
What was that little like? I already said it all.
It's over. Stop the tape. We're done. It's over. Stop the tape. We're done. Famous last words.
Mm-hmm.
So before that devolved into madness, Kyle, you said you were close to death. That was as close to death. Not to be too dramatic, but that was as close to death as
Yes.
you've been. Okay,
That was obviously sarcasm.
Oh,
But,
okay.
But yes, I just apparently couldn't pick myself up off the floor that day
for multiple days.
For multiple days.
But then here we were.
Here I am.
100 episodes later.
Just a few days later, here I am.
And then that was pretty funny. You couldn't get the words out, and even though
We used to literally have show notes that would have exactly the outro that I'm supposed to read right off the paper, and I still couldn't do it sometimes.
and I gave up on you and just said my bit, and then you just charged right back in with
Like
yours.
the music started going. and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. Producer Cameron did a good job. He faded the music in and then back out to let you have your piece, and then I was like, okay, what do we? Let this. It's over.
Yeah, it was a funny moment.
Yeah. If I were going to suggest a few episodes that maybe you want to go back to, if you're a new listener or you want to recommend to somebody to get them caught up a little bit, I would recommend episode 47. It's just called Favorite Mizzou Moments. If you want to know a little bit more about our fandom and how we became Mizzou fans.
And that was well before YouTube, so that'll be on podcast networks only.
Yeah, podcast only. Then, honestly, check out our Coaching Search and Eli Drinkwitz episodes. I thought those were really good. Coaching Search is maybe interesting to look back at now since decisions were made with all the coaches that we talked about. And we barely mentioned Eli Drinkwitz at the very end. And then... what was the one here recently where...
I'd probably check out the Barry Odom retrospectives. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, both of those. Was it just the last episode 99, where we said it was garbage? What were we doing?
Conference realignment.
Oh, yeah.
That was awful.
I knew we made fun of it the whole time, but I couldn't remember what the actual episode was. Yeah, our conference realignment episode. If you just want to have a little
Waste
fun.
40 minutes of your life.
Yeah, not think too hard about the content.
The Tim Huskisson episode.
Tim Huskisson interview. Yeah, that was our first shot at an interview. I thought it went really well. So check that one out. That best to watch on YouTube. Get the full effect. We're trying to line up a couple other interviews, so maybe we'll see that in the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, thanks for those who have listened and supported us. I know we just started doing YouTube pretty recently in the last couple months, so that's kind of a new thing for us as well. So if you're on YouTube, thanks for watching, and for those that have been with us for a while on all the podcast audio only networks, we appreciate you guys too. So hope you're here with us for the next 100.
Oh yeah, hopefully more wins in the next 100 episodes.
For sure.
If I wish we could promise it, but unfortunately we
will
no
still be here
that.
Regardless. So you can always depend on that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we would be here.
Yep.
As much as we would want to abandon ship, if we had a podcast at the beginning of the Kim Anderson era, we would have recapped every single basketball game.
We would have.
We did anyway in our just private lives. For some strange reason.
There was definitely a few episodes where just this past basketball season, or maybe it was 2 seasons ago, where we were on a losing streak, and it was a struggle at times to get in here and just recap multiple losses. But
yeah, multiple losses in a week.
There's always things to glean from even losses.
Oh yeah, like somebody's scoring points.
Somebody's
who
putting the ball through the hoop.
Who was it this time? We'll find out. Next week, I think we're going to try to do that basketball recruiting breakdown. Mm-hmm. So be ready for that. We'll get right back into the hard-hitting content that you're looking for. No more fun and games.
No more fun
after episode 100. Only serious talk. Mm-hmm. All right. Are we ready to see if Kyle can do it?
The famed outro. Okay. All right, everybody.
Oh, yeah. I do have a couple other things I want to say.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Listening back to some of our older episodes, it was so interesting to me how well I could remember what I said. Obviously, because it was me saying it, it made sense in my mind. But I just knew how I would start the next sentence, or what word I was looking for when I would stumble on something, and it just all came back to me so quickly that I just knew exactly how I would respond to anything you said. I don't know, and it just felt like when we were looking for that episode where we lost it at the end, I couldn't imagine that it was episode 14. I would have thought that it was much sooner than that because everything feels so fresh. Even listening to episode 1, I remember this conversation as if we just had it. Mm-hmm. And I actually related it to when we had that interview with Tim Huskisson, and he remembered specific games really well. It's kind of the same way. When we really focus on this episode and, we're thinking about the back and forth and the conversations, and we maybe listen to it, parts of it again to edit it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just always going to be fresh in my mind. I feel like even if we get to 1,000 episodes, I'll be able to listen to episode 3 and be like, oh yeah, I remember that exact conversation.
Yeah, sometimes I can't remember what I did yesterday, honestly, but whenever it's conversations about things I really care about or know a lot about, I can really recall some crazy, weird, specific details, even if they were years ago. So that makes sense, and I was kind of the same way. I can still really remember having those conversations, and we haven't been in this studio. Obviously a lot of the content in the 100 episodes were at the previous studio. So I always picture that room that we used to be in.
Mm-hmm. And luckily we started YouTube just before we made the move. So you can see every setup that we've ever had, including moving day.
The moving episode.
Yeah. Just sitting on boxes.
And I do want to say every single time I go back and listen to an episode, and just our back and forth for me personally, I just puts a big smile on my face every single time because obviously we are good friends and we love talking about Mizzou sports. So when we get going, I don't know, there's just not much more I personally would rather listen to, even though we already had the conversation. So thanks for having a fun time with me every week.
Likewise.
You're not too bad either, Producer Cameron.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Enough of that. Just kidding. That was nice. That was really nice. That was very sweet.
Oh, thanks.
And I agree. Guys, you can find this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram at Mizzou Sports Pod. You can email us. If you have an email you want to send and you want to send it to us, you can. We're at Missouri Sports Pod. Missouri Sports Podcast.
No.
Missouri Sports Pod at gmail.com. That was such an enthusiastic no.
I thought you had it. Yeah, we're all those places.
I messed myself up.
Find us there, review us there, like us there, share us there. And thanks for 100 great episodes. We'll see you for all the rest of the next 100. Bye.
After a win.